Good evening, afternoon, good evening, everybody. So, I wanted to make sure that I came on live, that I could make my commitment. I'm a little late, but that's okay. I said that every Thursday after my membership that I would come on live, so I wanted to make sure that I did that. Um, 45. I'm going to be on here until 9:15 because I have some things that I need to upload inside of my membership, and I want to do that before it gets too late. So I just want to share some things that we discussed inside of the membership. So today we really went all in about talking about our niche, identifying our target audience, and how that is foundational for anything that you want to create online. So if you know that you have a desire to create a digital product or to start teaching what you know, identifying who is that person that you're talking to and being very specific about who that is, that's what we really drill down on today. Because oftentimes, because we're taught in a generalist intervention model as social workers, we're taught to think in broad terms. We're taught to think about an entire population that we serve. But when you're talking about marketing online, you want to be able to speak to a specific, what we define it as an avatar. So you want to know what is that person thinking, what concerns them, what keeps them up at night, um, what are the challenges that they're having in their lives. And because we as social workers are really great at problem solving and helping to identify where gaps are in the market or gaps with services, then your job when you're creating your digital product then becomes to create what we call the invisible bridge, meaning your content, your messaging, your offer, which is that thing in the middle that helps them to get from where they are to where they want to be. You, as a content creator, as a social worker, as a coach, you want to help bridge that gap. So, in between where they are and where they want to be, you're providing information, resources, tools, insight, knowledge, perspective, all with helping them to overcome what they're experiencing, to overcome that challenge, and to get to the other side of that invisible bridge. And that's the goal of your content. And that's one of the reasons why I always encourage people not to think about so much of, selling and getting caught up on being too salesy. Because if you just stay within the identity of being a social worker, you will naturally sell the things that you have to offer, because within our DNA as social workers, we're just naturally helping. We were taught in a helping model and using a helping process. And literally when you're selling, that's literally all you're doing. You're helping people identify a problem, and then you're identifying how you can help them solve it. So just think about like any product that you buy, anything that you've recently purchased. So I know for my birthday, I got my makeup done. And one of the things that I wanted to reduce when I got my makeup done is like I wanted to have that matte look, and I wanted it to not look greasy and oily, but I still, wanted it to, and I wanted it to last. So if I know that I don't want my makeup to be greasy and oily, so the problem that I have is after a while, I'm shining more than I want to. Um, so the product is the thing in the invisible bridge that helps me get to the outcome. What can I spray on my face that's going to help me look matte? It's going to help me look finished, and it's going to help my makeup last. So when I find a product, or when I see a product that works, that helps me cross that invisible bridge, that's an easy sell. It's like, oh, I need to try that, because the way that they're promoting that is something that's going to be helpful and beneficial. It's going to keep my makeup from looking oily. It's going to help my makeup last longer, and it's going to give me that finish that I want. So then I'll buy the product to try it. So it's the same thing when you're creating an online offer and when you're thinking about what you are selling and the thing that you're putting out in front of your audience. You don't have to worry so much about selling as long as you are focusing on helping them overcome a challenge and to solve a problem. That's really what business is all about. So if you know that you are like struggling with being too salesy, is probably because you're focusing too much on the process and not enough on the outcome. So what is that thing that at the end of the day you can help them say that they accomplished? Um, One of the other things that we talked about was, we talked about not being too broad, being very specific. And then we talked about when you're creating your avatar, you want to know the psychographics, like what is the psychology of the person and what is the demographics. So one of the social workers there, she wants to work in geriatrics, and she was really dialed in on who it was that she wants to serve. We have social workers who are wanting to work in the financial social work space. They were getting dialed in on who they wanted to serve. So ideally, when you think about the demographics of the person that you want to serve, you're thinking about what is their age, what is their race, what is their cultural affiliation, what type of organizations do they support, where do they hang out, do they love to read, what brands do they like to support, um, what matters to them. So you want to think about demographically, where do they live, what is their social economic status, do they have disposable income. So those are all the demographics of the population that you want to serve. Now, when you think about the psychographics, that's when you're getting into the mindset and the mental space of your ideal client, and you're thinking about what are those the challenges that they're experiencing. What are they thinking about themselves and about the world? What are they wrestling with mentally, emotionally? So you want to really think about what are those things that are a daily struggle, a daily emotional struggle? Where are they putting all of their mental energy and their mental thought? What questions are kind of swirling around in their head where they're trying to get a solution or a problem solved? How do they make decisions? Do they overthink? Are they someone who makes lists? Are they someone who is very spontaneous or impulsive? So you want to think about what is that person mentally going through, what are they mentally experiencing, and then how you can begin talking to what they're experiencing in your messaging, in your content, in the videos that you're creating. And that's going to help ideally resonate more than just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and not being intentional about who you're talking to. So that was one of the things that we did today. Then I had each person just kind of identify who their target audience was, what is the problem that they solve for that target audience. And then next week, oh, sorry. Next week, what we'll probably do is I'll give them some niche statements, and then we'll just continue to drill down on identifying what that statement is that they want to use when they're talking online to their target audience. So we're just doing some really foundational, um, foundational but crucial marketing pieces that they need to really position themselves as experts and speak to the people who they're going to be serving. So at this point, we're not uploading anything to Instagram. We're not posting any TikToks. We're not doing any threads. We're not doing any stories. We're coming up with the identity of the person that we're serving, because when we start making the content, it's going to be so much more easy for us to know what they're experiencing and how we can begin speaking to them. One of the suggestions that I'm probably going to give when we meet next week is going through the process of figuring out where is this person, where are they hanging out, and then going into those spaces to try to gather that messaging. Like, what are the things that they're saying? Because one of the things that's important in your marketing is you want to use the exact language of the people that you're talking to. You want them to say, just like in therapy, how we when we rephrase what our clients say to us and we kind of say it back to them in a way that kind of summarizes what their perspective is, you want to do that same thing in your marketing. You want to be able to use the exact phrases, the exact words, the exact terminology, the exact frustrations that your clients are speaking every day, or who that ideal person is that is speaking. You want to use the exact things that they're saying. You don't want to paraphrase it. You want to say it verbatim. What are they saying? So when you do that, again, that's further helping you resonate, and it's further helping your message to clarify your message. In which agency finds social service workers? I complete placement. Oh, hey, Bakari. And I don't understand the question. In which agency finds social service workers? You want to find a job related to social work? Where are you located? If you let me know where you're located and who you want to serve, that makes a difference too. You mentioned social services. Does that mean like children's services that you're wanting to do? What type of social services? So yeah, we had a really great conversation. I know when we're talking about putting yourself out there, positioning your thought leadership, creating something for yourself, a lot of this is new language. It's new concepts, it's new ideas, it's new ways of thinking because traditionally we've been taught to think like clinicians and we think like therapists, we think like social workers. So when we talk about marketing and pricing and offer and lead magnet and funnel and all of those things, it's a learning curve. And it's one of those things where you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and to begin thinking about yourself differently, thinking about yourself more so as an entrepreneur and a CEO, as a clinician providing direct service. I'm located in Brampton. Ooh, I don't know where that is. I complete my study in social work and I complete my placement in Muslim Affairs Center. Where is Brampton? What country is that? I don't have my phone or I could look it up. So you're completing your placement in a Muslim welfare center. And you want to know what agency you can find a social welfare job? What country is that? Maybe I can look it up. Let's see. Is that in Canada? Oh, Canada. Perfect. Okay, I just looked it up. Okay, so you're located in Canada. Well, thank you so much for joining my live. And you completed a study in social service. And you're wanting to find a job working in child welfare. Okay, who do you want to serve? Do you want to work with adults? Do you want to work with children? What population do you want to work with? Okay, yeah, I just looked it up. Thanks for joining my live. Do you know what population that you want to work with? So I know, I'm not sure how the social service system works in Canada, but at least in the US, you want to work with children? Okay, so at least in the US, we have a social welfare system that is in place to help protect children. So if there's ever an instance of abuse, neglect, or dependency, meaning a child is not, their basic needs aren't being cared for, um, we have social service workers who intervene on behalf of our county. So I think Canada has provinces, if I'm not mistaken. So is there a social service agency in Brampton? And what province is Brampton in? Let me look. Brampton. Oh, it's in Ontario. Okay. So you're in the province of Ontario. So let's look up social service system in Ontario. Okay. So from what I'm able to see, you all have some social service organizations within Brampton. Um, I'm seeing a restoration and empowerment. I don't know if that's for children. Brampton Services of Canada. Roots Community Center. Is it Indus Community Center? Free for All Community Services. So those are just some of the agencies that I'm seeing that comes up when I look up in Ontario. Rapport Youth and Family Services, My Community Services. Oh, it's Restoration and Empowerment Center for Transition. I can't see the rest. Then you have like a Catholic Cross Cultural Services. So those are all the organizations that I saw. Okay. So if you're wanting to work in social services, what I would do is I would probably start reaching out to those agencies and then seeing what positions that they have available. You could check their website, see what roles they have that are available, and then make sure that your resume is in alignment with the positions that are open. And if you don't feel like you have enough experience, I would say try to volunteer at a social service organization. I always recommend, if you know that there is a fundraiser or some type of community event happening in Ontario where you can volunteer and provide some support, I would do that. Because then you can start making connections and relationships with people who work at those agencies, and they'll kind of get an idea of your work ethic. And then if something does come up, you would have already started establishing some rapport and some connection with people who work at those agencies. You're welcome. And if you haven't, make sure that you work with someone who can look over your resume, because oftentimes it might not be the fact that you don't have enough experience. You might just need to learn how to position the experience that you do have to where an agency would be willing to call you back for an interview. And if you haven't looked at the interview videos on my YouTube channel, I would recommend that you look through those videos so that when you're ready to interview, you feel confident in how to answer the questions. And a lot of social workers have found those to be helpful. But again, thank you for being on the live. If you do have any other questions, you can just drop those in the chat and I'll answer those for you. So here's the thing that I want social workers to know when you all are working in your 9-to-5 roles. So when you first graduate from college, ideally, that's the route you want to go. You want to be able to secure a role in a traditional job. Like that's what you go to school for. You didn't go to school to just earn a degree where you can't get a job. Now, when you are working in your job, I want you to identify a role that's going to, that's going to be able to help you develop a strong skill set. Because oftentimes what happens is when we first come into the profession, because we're not taught like how to navigate our career, we end up working in a lot of kind of case management roles, which is fine. Like that'll give you foundational skills to build upon. Those case management skills are invaluable because they're transferable with a lot of things that you're doing. Is teaching you resourcefulness, is teaching you how to keep things organized, it's teaching you how to problem solve. It's teaching you how to be resourceful in the community, how to make connections, how to be scrappy, like all the things that really are required for growth. So I think fundamentally, case management is a great place to start. The thing with case management is it kind of just keeps you in those entry-level skill sets. So you want to be thinking about your career trajectory, meaning once I acquire these case management level skills, how can I build upon that so I can start stacking my expertise? because we know that jobs aren't always the most secure. You can think that you're in a good place at the role, and then something can happen. There could be hiring freezes. They can start laying people off. You could get terminated. Like, a lot of things can happen. So you always want to have a backup plan, something that you can begin leveraging your own knowledge and your own experience. So when you're in the career phase, you're in the career phase with the goal of building a skill set and an expertise that you can then use to create something for yourself on the side. So then, when you do that, you don't have to worry about working at a lot of jobs that are outside the scope of your work. You can transition your skills and begin using those skills to make more income for yourself. So just think about that when you're deciding on what job do you want to take. Like, is there the ability for me to develop a depth of knowledge, to increase my skill set, to serve a specific population where I can get a decent level of expertise, where I'm starting to learn more than the average person knows. And this can be at the micro, meso, or macro level. So just keep that in mind. Would you recommend working as a case management position right after grad school if I'm on the clinical track, or would you recommend opening a part-time practice after graduation? Um, no, if you feel like your program prepared you to move into management, leadership, or something outside of case management, I will highly recommend that. So think about the skill sets that you have. Your skill sets might, depending on how good of a student you were, how intuitive you are, how much of a knack for the social work profession you already have, you probably could have been doing social work before it was even, you even went to school for it. So I don't think that you have to start at case management. Start at the highest level of your skill. So if you know that case management is kind of not expressing your skill level at the most optimized point, do the thing that most optimizes your skill, your talents, and your expertise. If you're a natural leader, try to identify something where you're doing program and project management. If you're naturally organized, find something where you're leading projects and initiatives where you can fully utilize your skills, because you're going to be underutilizing your skills if you work in case management first. So no, I don't recommend case management when you're first coming in. Go to the most utilized place where your skills can be valued and increased. Now, would I recommend opening a part-time practice? No, not if you don't have expertise, like clinical expertise. I don't recommend opening a private practice part-time. I would recommend working under someone who has a private practice, so you understand um, the logistics of operating a practice, but it would be a very steep learning curve if you jump straight into private practice with no prior experience. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be very, very challenging. So I would say work under someone who has a private practice part time so you can see how it operates and how it runs. I would try to find a small private practice, but that still operates fairly well, and then go from there. I will also like flexibility. Okay. Um, the private practice route will be the thing that could give you the most flexibility, I think. Especially if it's not like a huge agency, if it's like a smaller solo practice and you're able to work there, I think that could be a good option because that's going to give you some flexibility. How long have you been in the field? Because I know just because you graduated, some people graduate later in life, so you probably, what it sounds like, already have a level of expertise. Maybe you just got your degree later. So I'm curious how long you've been in the profession. So I know for me, I knew it. I've been in the field for about 8 years. No, you do not. This is just my opinion. I don't think with 8 years of experience, you need to be doing case management. Absolutely not. And if you have 8 years of clinical experience, then yeah, I think a part-time practice could be a good thing. If you do a part-time, I would still recommend working under someone who has a practice so you can see how it runs. But 8 years of clinical experience, absolutely, I think you could bypass case management. What is it that you're actually wanting to do? When you graduated, after you graduated, what was your ultimate goal? Because here's the thing. I've been meeting with social workers the past 2 weeks doing career clarity calls. And if any of you who are on the live are interested in a call, let me know and I can share the link. Here's what I realized, and I'm not exactly sure why we do this, but for some reason, we take these detours around our goals for lesser goals than the thing that we actually want to do. And we always have in our mind what our ultimate goal is, but that's never the thing that we go after. We always go after the thing that seems more tangible, more attainable, more realistic, but not the thing that we actually want to do. So then we find ourselves navigating our career, working in all of these different unrelated, and I did the same thing myself, working in all of these different unrelated roles that aren't getting us straight to the goal that we actually want. So we're veering off, and it's taking time, taking energy, and we're not just taking a straight shot toward the thing that we want. So when I was meeting with social workers, I noticed like one social worker said, it would be nice if, and then another one said, um, in an ideal world, I would XYZ. But I explained to them, like, it doesn't have to be nice to do the thing. This doesn't have to happen in an ideal world. This can happen in the world we live in, February 2026. So it doesn't have to be um, like a fantasy or something that's not real as long as you plan for it. So whatever that big goal is that you want to accomplish, I would challenge every social worker to bring that idea into reality. Like, don't allow it to stay out in space, just something that sounds good or would be nice or maybe one day. Like, bring it into scope, bring it into your life, speak it into your world. So then that way you can start strategically planning around what it would look like to get there. Because oftentimes the ideas that you have, they're not some far-fetched thing that you want to do. You at least are connected or see people online or know people in your physical world who are doing the thing or doing something very similar. So it doesn't have to be something that you hope for or dream or wish. It could actually be something that you design and create. So I want you all to give yourself permission to not just dream the thing that you want to have, but create the thing that you want to have. You can absolutely make it real. I have a passion for helping women and children, such as single moms. Okay. I love providing resources to women that they didn't know existed and creating programs. Okay, great. That sounds good. So this kind of goes back to the conversation that we had earlier. Inside of my membership is really niching down and figuring out, what does helping women and children mean? I know we're just kind of talking off the cuff, but if you don't know for sure, think about, when you say helping, what would you be helping them do? And if you're helping them access resources, resources for what? Resources for food, resources to buy a home, resources to become better parents, resources to work through infertility, resources to have a stronger marriage, resources to go through the process of adoption. Like, what type of resources are you wanting to provide? And then what types of programs? I'm very passionate about encouraging women to see that they can reach their goals and overcome challenges. I'm not sure what path that is, though. Okay, so yeah, this is another idea where you will want to get very specific, because all of those things are great, but women have a lot of goals that they want to accomplish. They have a lot of challenges that they're working through. So what goals are you helping them achieve? Goals toward home ownership, goals of birthing their first child after 40, goals of finding their ideal relationship after divorce, goals of overcoming anxiety, goals of working toward marriage, building their faith, their spiritual relationship with God or the Creator. What goal? And then what challenge? So you got to get really specific on what that would look like. Because the more specific you are, the more you draw your people to you, because then they say to themselves, oh, she's speaking to me. She's talking to me. So somebody gave an example. Imagine you were in a grocery store. This is what a clear niche does for you. Imagine you're in a grocery store and it's 50 people in the grocery store and you're kind of shopping, doing your own thing. And you hear somebody call your name, Mary, Mary. You hear somebody calling. You can literally tune out everything that's going on around you, all the noise, and then you start looking around like, who called Mary? And you're 100% focused, honed in on finding and identifying that person who called Mary. That's how lasered in you want to be on your niche. Meaning when you speak your words out in your content, that person's ear perks up and says, who called me? Who called out this problem? Who called out this issue? You want their ears to perk up from how aligned your messaging is to what they're going through. Now, when your message is vague, that's just like you walking through the grocery store. No one has called you out. Nobody has identified you. Nobody has said that they're looking for you. But when you get specific and you know who you're speaking to, when someone calls out your name, then you respond. So that's how dialed in you want to be on your niche. So you want to get specific, how we talked about the demographics and the psychographics. Demographics, meaning their age, their social economic status, their race, where they live, how they live, what they value, what they watch on TV, who they listen to, what books they read, what podcasts they listen to. Are they spiritual? Are they religious? And then the psychographics. What are their values? What matters to them? What do they hold in high regard? What things do they not align with politically, spiritually? What do they think about? What do they worry about? You want to be that dialed in to your audience. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you for joining my live. I appreciate you being here. Does anyone else have any questions? So I made the commitment that every Thursday after my membership that I would come on live. So I wanted to make sure that I honored that commitment. I was about to finish doing what I needed to do in my mentorship and put on my pajamas. So I wanted to make sure that I came on for a little while to answer your questions, to connect with you, to let you all know that if you are creating a digital product or an offer and you want help and support with putting that together so that you have additional income outside of your 9 to 5, then you can reach out to me and let me know that you're interested in becoming a part of the membership. I think it's best if you have already made the commitment that creating content is going to be a part of how you develop your online brand. If you know that you want to start making content on a consistent basis, you're okay with making reels, you're okay with making videos, you know that online marketing is going to be a part of what you do professionally moving on, then that's ideally who the Design Your Career membership is for. So again, if you want more details, then you can send me a message. Okay. So if there's no more questions, I'll see if I have any other questions. All right. Well, I hope you all have a great evening, and I will see you all next Thursday on live.